I'm here with Gary, and he is going to tell us about his beautiful Mercedes. Gary, what kind of a car is this?
Well, this is a 92 Mercedes 500e. It's the first year they brought these into the country. And the story of this car is special because it's the only known joint project between Porsche and Mercedes. Porsche actually had production capacity left after they quit making the 959, and Mercedes was pretty much chock-a-blocked, and so they hired Porsche to engineer putting the engine from the 500 SL into a 124 chassis. And Porsche kind of said, well, the car needs to be about an inch lower, and so they had to flare the front fenders to fit it on the tires of the wheel wells.
Wow.
And so then it didn't fit on the Mercedes production line anymore, and so then Mercedes had to hire Porsche to build the car. And so the car started as a chassis from Mercedes, got trucked over to Porsche in Zuffenhausen for some installations. It came back, got painted, went back over to Zuffenhausen for completion. It took 18 days to build each car.
Now, what does it normally take to build a Mercedes like this?
Probably less than a day on a production line.
Oh.
And so, I mean, these are very special cars.
Yeah.
And it's a sleeper. It's often called wolf in sheep's clothing because you look at the car, you almost can't notice it's different. And then you open the engine compartment, it's got a 5-liter V8. And that's the subtle thing from the outside is it's got very subtle fender flares on the front, and it's about an inch lower than a regular 124. But then you start looking at the car and you realize there's a lot of little differences. I mean, it's got 4 Recaro seats. If you look in the back seat, those are 2 bucket seats in the back. Normal 124s have a bench, and they're certified for 5 passengers. This is a 4-passenger car, and it's got that pretty wood console in the middle. It's even got little lights, opera lights for the rear passengers that regular 124s don't have. I mean, and it drives like a Porsche. It's a very stiff car. The engine's very responsive. It sucks gas, but it's really a fun to drive car.
So what do you like to do when you take this car out?
I just like to throw it around some. I mean, it's stiff, and so it's fun to do that. Also, it's got lots of power with the 5-liter V8, so it's fun to actually just give it full throttle every once in a while.
Where can you do that?
Well, you can't go above about 60 now, can you?
No. Now, is there like a subgroup of collectors like you that have this kind of sleeper? What would you call it? What was that name again you used?
Wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, okay, the wolf in sheep's clothing.
There's actually an online forum called the 500e board where people discuss these cars and deal with their unique issues since the production numbers are pretty low. But there's not a separate sub-piece of the club. It is interesting, we have 2 of them here today. Eric's across there is a 94 model.
Wow, we are really lucky.
Yeah, and his appears as it should from the factory with the proper wheels. My car has monoblock 1 wheels on it, which are not correct for the car, but they make it look really neat.
So when you take this car around, you say it feels like a Porsche. Do you have a lot of experience driving Porsches too?
I bought my first Porsche 40-something years ago, and I really was a Porsche hobbyist before I was a Mercedes hobbyist. I just started Mercedes about 15 years ago. I do, however, have more Mercedes than I do Porsches now. But this car has 224,000 miles on it, and so I can actually drive it and use it and not worried about putting mileage on it. And I bought this car on eBay. I buy a lot of cars on eBay. I bought the other car on eBay, and I flew out to Dallas to buy this car. And it was kind of having some difficulties the day before I flew out, and I was a little nervous about it. It went into limp home mode when they were delivering the car to where I was going to pick it up.
Whoa.
And so I asked them to start the car at lunch and start the car in the evening and see if it went back into it. Didn't do it again. I flew to Dallas, picked up the car about noon, and I was very nervous about driving it home. And so I decided that I was just going to do it nonstop instead of stopping for the night. And so I got home at 3:30 in the morning.
Wow.
It is an exciting car to drive, so it certainly helps me stay awake. But 2 days later, I decided to take it to church, and I couldn't get it out of the driveway.
So what was wrong with it?
Well, it went into limp home mode because the throttle linkage was a little bit stiff, and the computer says, oh, well, I don't like that, and then it just drops off into limp home mode. And it cost me nothing to repair it. There's a Mercedes procedure that to lubricate the throttle linkage with automatic transmission fluid. It took a while to figure that out, but it was very simple.
Wow, that is a real testimony to Mercedes reliability. I'm just astonished that you can buy a car that seems like it would be so complicated, but it totally makes it worth it to invest in Mercedes. Would you agree?
Well, not only that, but if you pick the right cars, and some of them just have really reliable engines. And this is the M119 engine, and it's an engine that just doesn't have a lot of issues. And the other car, the SL600 we were talking about, has an M120 engine, which though people shy away from them because they think about their complexity, that's a really good, reliable engine. And so and this chassis, this is a W124 chassis, it was just their E-Class, the first E-Class. It was a really reliable, well-engineered car. I really like this body style. I've got about 5 of them. And there's another, that convertible over there's another E124 chassis. They're magnificent cars, they're well engineered, they tend to be very reliable, and that is kind of the sweet point in my mind of Mercedes manufacturing.
Wow. So if someone is thinking about owning a Mercedes, be it a classic or a new model, would you highly recommend joining Mercedes Club and becoming a member and getting help from all the members on what to pick and how to maintain?
Yeah, I don't understand not being a member of the MBCA, Mercedes Benz Club of America, if you have a Mercedes. It puts you in contact with a bunch of people that are enthusiasts about the car, that love the car, that have a lot of technical knowledge about them, and can also help you make a good choice when you're buying one. So yeah, a Mercedes owner should be a member of Mercedes Benz Club of America.
Thank you so much today for talking to me today, Gary.
Thank you, Heather. This has been fun.